Today, the global wellness industry generates billions of dollars, selling us tiny capsules packed with laboratory-grown bacteria. We are constantly told that our modern, hyper-sterile diets are destroying our natural digestive health. Therefore, we obsessively purchase sophisticated probiotic supplements, genuinely believing that functional nutrition is a brand new medical invention created by 21st century scientists. We arrogantly look back at ancient civilizations and assume their daily diets were primitive, unhygienic, and entirely devoid of any real biological science. But the historical and archaeological reality of the ancient Mediterranean world completely shatters this modern superiority complex. The citizens of the Roman Empire possessed an absolute biological superweapon for their digestion and immune systems. They created a universal condiment from raw fish and internal organs left to ferment in the blistering, unforgiving heat of the summer sun.
To a modern observer, this sounds like a horrific and highly illegal biological hazard. Therefore, most people naturally assume it was just a desperate, primitive method to preserve rotting food or to mask the terrible taste of spoiled meat. But this repulsive amber liquid, known throughout the ancient world as garum, was actually a highly sophisticated biochemical reactor. The mighty Roman war machine did not conquer the known world simply by marching on a diet of dry wheat and watered-down wine. They fueled their massive empire with a deeply complex fermented microbial elixir that would genuinely shock modern gastroenterologists. This foul-smelling liquid was the invisible foundation of their legendary physical endurance. To truly understand the terrifying power of this ancient liquid, you must first understand the incredibly brutal and extreme method of its physical creation. The Roman manufacturers did not use clean, sterile laboratories.
They took massive commercial catches of small, oily fish like anchovies, sardines, and mackerel, leaving all of their blood and internal organs completely intact. They dumped these raw, bloody carcasses into massive stone vats and layered them with enormous quantities of coarse sea salt. The salt content was deliberately engineered to make up 20 to 30% of the entire physical mixture. Therefore, the chemical environment inside these vats became instantly and incredibly hostile to almost all normal, everyday forms of biological life. They left these massive, open containers completely exposed, baking under the intense and relentless Mediterranean sun for weeks or even several entire months. Under any normal circumstances, leaving rotting fish meat in the sweltering summer heat would immediately breed deadly pathogens and instantly kill anyone foolish enough to consume it. But the Romans knew exactly what they were doing. The massive, crushing concentration of salt effectively paralyzed the dangerous rotting bacteria, completely preventing them from taking over the vats. Instead, this extreme environment triggered a violent, heavily controlled enzymatic breakdown. The digestive enzymes inside the fish stomachs literally dissolved the creatures from the inside out, gradually transforming the solid meat into a rich, dark liquid, absolutely packed with highly bioavailable free amino acids like glutamate. Therefore, the Romans accidentally engineered the absolute perfect breeding ground for a very specific indestructible type of microscopic life. Recently, modern internet health influencers have aggressively spread a sensationalized claim that this ancient Roman source contained vastly more probiotics than the most advanced pharmaceutical supplements available today. Therefore, these modern gurus enthusiastically market the ancient fish liquid as a forgotten miraculous superfood that we desperately need to bring back. But strict laboratory science and deep microbiological analysis reveal a much more nuanced, complex, and frankly terrifying reality. Because the ancient brewing process was so brutally salty, the normal, fragile probiotic bacteria you typically find in your expensive morning yogurt would instantly die upon contact. But this extreme, punishing environment allowed incredibly extreme organisms to rise up and dominate the ecosystem. Modern scientific studies on the direct modern descendants of this source show massive, thriving colonies of salt-tolerant microbes like Bacillus and Tetragenococcus halophilus.
These specific strains are ancient microscopic survivors designed for brutal warfare. The bacillus strains have the unique biological ability to form impenetrable physical spores around themselves. This heavy biological armor allows them to easily survive high boiling heat, intense salt concentrations, and even the burning acid of the human stomach. Therefore, thousands of years before laboratory capsules were ever conceptualized, average Roman citizens were unknowingly dosing themselves with tough-living, extreme bacteria that actively and aggressively protected their intestinal tracts. They were drinking a literal army of indestructible microbes with every single meal. But the true medical genius of this ancient foul-smelling sauce goes far beyond just the presence of living, breathing bacteria. Even if the blistering outdoor sun or the intense crushing salt eventually killed the extreme microbes, the Romans were still consuming an absolute biological goldmine. Today, our medical culture is completely obsessed with consuming living probiotics to fix our stomach issues. But modern microbiologists have recently discovered the staggering physiological power of something called postbiotics. When those extreme bacteria lived, fought, and eventually died inside the ancient Roman clay vats, they left behind a massive and permanent chemical footprint. They constantly generated powerful organic acids, defensive bioactive peptides, and complex metabolic waste products that have the proven ability to completely alter and regulate the human immune system. Therefore, even a completely dead and entirely sterile batch of this fermented fish sauce still operated as a highly potent functional medicine within the human body. The Romans were literally pouring broken down cellular walls and microscopic chemical weapons directly over their daily bread and roasted meat. They were repairing and reinforcing their gut microbiomes, not just with fragile living cultures, but with the indestructible chemical armor left behind by generations of microscopic warriors. They stumbled upon a highly advanced nutritional science that modern medicine is only just beginning to truly understand and successfully replicate in clinical laboratories. However, we must understand that this ancient biological alchemy came with incredibly dark and genuinely dangerous health risks. If the long fermentation process was not perfectly controlled by a master craftsman, the wrong types of bacteria could briefly dominate the rotting mixture. This microscopic failure produced massive, invisible amounts of biogenic amines like histamine, instantly turning the healing, functional sauce into a toxic, poisonous liquid that could cause severe physical illness and massive allergic reactions. Furthermore, the absolutely staggering amount of pure sodium required to safely brew the sauce would deeply horrify any modern cardiologist. Therefore, this was never a harmless, magical health elixir, but a highly volatile, double-edged sword that required immense respect and deep technical knowledge. We look back at the mighty Romans and easily judge them for eagerly consuming a disgusting rotting fish syrup on a daily basis. But we entirely fail to realize that they successfully hacked the violent biological world to extract functional medicine straight from the ocean depths. Today, we spend countless thousands of dollars on scientifically isolated microbial pills, desperately trying to artificially restore the natural health of our fragile bodies. But the ancient Romans achieved the exact same physiological supremacy using absolutely nothing but coarse sea salt, raw fish guts, and the scorching, unforgiving heat of the summer sun. The brutal secret to their unbreakable health was not found in a sterile laboratory, but in the calculated, fearless mastery of decay itself.